Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. My guest today is a transformational catalyst in the realm of personal health and well-being with a unique blend of expertise and certified EFT practitioner and a special hacking reality. Please welcome in the one, the only, Sophia Torini. How you doing, Sophia?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Sophia, do you want to tell everybody a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. So I started in medicine. So I have an MPH in epidemiology, which is a master's in epidemiology. And just like everybody else, had challenges, climbed the corporate ladder to find out that I ended up with a lot of health challenges that weren't getting resolved. And they dragged out for a long time, and I almost lost my life to them. And when I realized the medical model that I trusted so much, because that's all I knew, I had worked for very, very big names and good doctors. I realized its limitation. Not that it doesn't have a place in society, it does for certain things, but for chronic conditions or emotional dysregulation, it's not so well suited or comprehensive, let's put it that way. So I ended up researching alternative modalities, and I had tried pretty much everything: EMDR, Psych-K, hypnosis, and not one session each, about 30 each of each.
Jeez.
So I ended up with some of Dr. Dispenza's teachings, which are neuroscience based, but there was a component missing. He says you need to master your emotions. And I was drowning there. And that's where EFT came in. So I'll explain what EFT is. It's an energy modality, a combination between clinical psychotherapy and tapping on the body's meridians, so acupuncture without needles. And by physically tapping and expressing yourself, or whatever the limiting belief or emotion is, the energy that got blocked or was not felt moves. And that releases the energy. And I want to explain something that people tend to not really put a lot of emphasis. So they think out of mind, out of sight, or if I don't think about it, it's not there. Well, we actually know the contrary now. We know that the limbic brain produces chemistry, and it doesn't matter if the event happened when you were 5. As long as the emotion was not processed, that chemistry was not transmuted, it actually stays in the body, because that information, that emotion had information for you to process and know. And it stays there. And if you accumulate one after another, now the body is going to have challenges, if that makes a lot of sense there.
Yep.
So,
Oh, yeah, it
yeah.
makes perfect sense. Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting, though, that you went from traditional medicine to where you're now. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, that's what happens. Like, even with therapists, they go from traditional therapy and then they go to the other routes and everything like that, too, and discover that some of these alternatives are way better and are better suited for more people, and you've got neuroscience fact on that one, though. So, it's even better because you're at a deeper level now too, because all the work that you references work a lot too, and things like that as well. So when did you discover him first, though?
I started in I had read Dr. Joe Dispenza when I around 2008 or something, and I discarded it because I said this just can't work. And then I literally, after 16 years of being sick, I hit a rock bottom again, and someone suggested to reread the books. It was just a lecture I had heard, or a podcast, or whatever it was. Now I started reading, and I did all 4 of them in sequence, and it actually made sense from a scientific point of view. And I always had this belief, having worked in medicine and having assisted in some surgeries, or I always had this belief that the body can heal. And he gave me the missing pieces. And I think that was a very, very good starting point. And the other part that he addresses, you can't take someone as a part. So the person is a whole. So it's mind, body, spirit. And there's a reason why it's mind, body, spirit, because we have three brains. So you have the neocortex, you have the limbic brain, which is the emotional brain, and the cerebellum. You cannot separate them. Those brains need to work in unison. And I also had started in medicine when I was young, where you only had internal medicine before they got specialized. And I used to do a lot of temp. And I remembered that those physicians were way much better, even though their knowledge was different, than the one who specializes, because they could see how this can affect that and how this condition can cause this. And so the moment you start breaking it down to over specialization, you're losing the person. And you're losing what could happen there. They're treating this and you have, your arm and you have 15 side effects. And that I always remembered. So this was a good way for me to see that we're treating the person as a whole, and the person has their own unique story. The question is not to get stuck in the story and how to get out of that story, and what can we offer you to help you get to a better place where the body starts healing on its own. So under the right condition, the body can reverse conditions.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. So let me ask you this though. Why do you think people get stuck in their own ways so many times? Is it just because a lot of misinformation out there or just the things that they've always been told?
There's a lot of programming. So a lot of people focus on limiting beliefs, and that is a true component. Emotions is what's hold limiting beliefs. If you go try solving it with your mind, you're going to take more than one lifetime to clear it. It's faster and easier to address the emotion, and then you can get rid of the limiting beliefs, because they can say, okay, no, I don't want to believe this, but then they have this knot in their stomach or this overwhelming fear, and they can't get past it. But it's really the emotion. And traumatic memories, it's not so much the memory, it's the emotion that that memory produced. And let's address anxiety, since your podcast is anxiety. Okay, so there's research now that indicates that the symptom or the incident of anxiety starts an hour before the person has a panic attack.
Yeah, I could contest to that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, what can we do to start picking up the signals so that doesn't happen? And we've disconnected so much from the body, and society has trained us that way. I mean, even for me, it wasn't easy to reconnect. And I have still my moments that we're not getting the signal. So the body is giving you a GPS signal of what needs to be done. So going back, why there's a disconnect? Number one, because we haven't been given proper tools. All the modalities we had in the past, like psychotherapy, is mental. So what wires together, fires together. So if you keep on repeating that story, this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to me, you're going to stay to this is what happened to me. There's no room for anything else. And if you can keep on saying, well, it's because of this person and this person and this person, you're not transmuting the emotion. I'm not saying it's not because of this person, but it happened. How do we get past it? And when you release the emotion, now you get energy back to heal.
Yeah. No, I could agree to the getting stuck in an endless loop kind of thing too, because I think the hardest thing I deal with now is the forgiveness of my mom who abandoned me when I was 10. She's just like, it to me, it's just like that you're right. It's not the fact that it happened, it's the fact I go back to that emotion sometimes. Like when I get real upset or I feel like in that moment where somebody's gonna leave, I jump back to it. I don't visualize it, but I know the feeling because my body remembers when it happened, and I get stuck at that hump where I just can't get over it, which I've been working on and slowly I'm getting over it. But that was my biggest roadblock, was just like I get stuck there and I can't get over this wall. And it's like the wall just continues going. And it's like this wall that just won't stop ending. And it's like, why can't I get over this one moment? But I like, and it happens though. When you get upset, I'm like, I jump back to that moment. I feel that sense of that same feeling of like, oh God, they're going to leave me. I might as well tell them to leave before they leave me kind of thing. So I get on the defensive really quick. Which I'm getting better with, but I mean, it's one of those things I can contest though, that I get stuck in that endless loop of just like, well, I've been working on trying to get past it because I'm tired of it just coming back to haunt me almost, because it's like, all right, it's already been over with. It's been, God, I'm 40 years old now, so it's been 30 years, like it's time to get over this and stop making excuses for it. So, but I mean, I get that though. I understand that completely.
Well, that's an excellent example, and I've had lots of those memories, and what I found is somatic modalities. So there's 2 levels on forgiveness. Someone says, I can forgive mentally, but the body is not forgiving. I just recently worked with someone who was physically assaulted. She can now replay the memory forwards and backwards with no emotional charge.
It's awesome.
And now she's able to forgive. Originally, she mentally wanted to forgive, and she said she had, but every time she got triggered, all you need is an emotion and an image, a stimulus, and a response, and you're back feeling it. We use some EFT techniques and a little bit of, the movie technique in EFT and some NLP technique. And eventually now she can play it forward and backwards, and there's no emotional charge. When there's no emotional charge to the event, you can pretty move forward. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but you got something and you're able to let it go. The other thing we can do for those traumatic memories is after you release the emotion, that's where hacking reality comes in, is to reframe them. So let's assume your parents left you, but you did stand on your own 2 feet and you became what you are, pretty successful. So what's playing is the memory when you were, let's say they left you at 5, the abandonment. And that keeps on replaying, and you can't even enjoy your successes because it was always forceful and it was always whatever it was. Once you release that abandonment and you realize you're a giving, loving person and you've become successful, now you can reframe it and you can feel better. Oh my goodness, I had such a rough upbringing and I did stuff. A perfect example is Wayne Dyer, who grew up in orphanages. Wayne Dyer is famous about talking this story. His mother put him from one orphanage to another and picked him up later. He could have said, I was victimized. And he was for a while till he worked on himself. And then he finally became the person who he was. And he talks about he had a hard time forgiving his father for years. And then eventually he forgave him and he had a big release of energy and could let go of that story.
Yeah. No, I feel that that's my end goal because I know she wants a relationship now. And it's gotten easier. I mean, I'll be honest, like ever since starting this podcast, I've been going through my own journey of things, like learning different things as I go. And just kind of like it gets easier to talk about, like, just to bring it up, tell people about it. I don't get so emotional like I used to. Like I get so irritated now. It's just like, okay, well, I can bring it up and it doesn't stir that feeling of emotion where I just want to get mad for no reason. And I mean, I made a phone call to her recently and it wasn't that hard. Like before, it was just like you're calling on the phone and you're just sweating bullets over there like you're in an interrogation and you're like, how's this conversation gonna go? I don't know, it's gonna be. I mean, now it's just like, fuck it. I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna get over it eventually. And like I said, I'm getting over that hump because I know the forgiveness won't come from her side, and I already know that. She's the type of person she is, and I've already accepted that part of it. It's now just getting myself over it, which I'm working on it each day, and it's getting easier and easier and easier, since I started doing this whole thing, and it's been a fun ride though. I mean, I've done over like, God, I don't even know, 200 plus episodes in the first year, and I've talked about this subject a lot of times with different people, and everybody's adding new things to learn. So let's talk about EFT though, okay? So I know a lot of people know what the traditional EFT is, but what is the difference versus clinical? Like, do you want to give them a little difference so they know what you're looking at?
There's a couple of things. So a lot of people just go on and take an online course and they claim they're an EFT practitioner, or they just do tapping scripts.
Yeah.
So a clinical EFT is evidence-based in EFT, and whoever is clinical EFT pretty much uh, has to go through a certification process and maintain their credentialing by continuous learning and getting mentoring. But the bottom line, it's evidence-based techniques that we know actually work, and there are a lot of clinical trials. And it's not exactly the same as tapping on a script. Yeah, in an emergency, you can tap on some video and a script. The key here is to find the words for you because it was your story, your event. And the other part is whatever is happening in the now is a reflection of happened when you grew up from first trimester till about 7 years old. I stretch it to 13. So we start with the now, but really what's replaying it is those old memories. Those are the memories that need to be cleared instead of, what's happening on my day-to-day life. My day-to-day life is a repeat of what was programmed for me. And a lot of people focus on the now and they don't get there. The other thing that we do as clinical EFT practitioners, we train the individual to tap in between the sessions and to know how to fully tap by themselves, not on traumatic memories, because you need someone else for traumatic memories, but for every other thing you want without being dependent on the video script or on the script. And it's more empowering that you can sit for 15 minutes and clear that fear or clear that migraine, because it's excellent for physical pain as well. So that's really much the difference between what's been commercialized, and that's what the founder, who's still alive, it's Gary Craig, and he healed himself from a stroke. He's close to his, I think. I sometimes join his classes and he's still active and he completely healed himself from paralysis. So it's pretty amazing. He had a stroke and he was paralyzed and he used what he gave to the world for free. He actually gave it to the world for free. Now it's been, a whole rigorous process. But
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, it's not the first time I've heard a story like that too. We had one guy come on, Larry Volts. He was talking about how he was fully paralyzed too. I think it was a heart attack as well, if I remember Larry's exact story. But he said it started with like, just the power of will alone, just human will for him to get out of it, and he was like, he's focused on his finger, started moving, and then his whole hand started moving, and then his arm started moving. Like Gary's story really is not shocking to me in any way
Mhm,
possible. Like I said, since I've been sitting in this seat talking to people about their stories, it's truly amazing because what he did and how he overcame everything, even though, we have all these people claiming, oh, just because you have a stroke, it's an LB all. And, all this mentality of people, like the minute you're told something, it's like they treat you differently. Like, hey, you're a suicide survivor. No, people treat you differently. Oh, well, you got to be careful. This guy's crazy. It's not that. It's just like, I don't get why we have to make people out to be to be so negative in a society, just like, oh well, you're never gonna walk again. There's people I've always heard that story, and they're walking now. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense. And then the whole thing of traditional therapy, they treat everything with medication, and now
mhm,
everybody's so scared of therapy because they're like, oh well, I don't want to get medicated. But I'm like, it's not like that, guys. It's really not, but I personally like the alternative space. I've been exploring it little by little in the podcast as I've been doing this, and energy healing came up as one of them, and I was just really interested because I found it myself that I'm very sensitive to energy, which made sense because I could never explain this feeling I always had when I was around people. Like I got this sense of like I didn't like somebody, or I could
mhm,
tell I didn't feel I could feel their energy, and like and it's like it was an interesting feeling at first, and it was almost like, you couldn't explain what it was. And I was like, I could feel the presence of other things around me too. And it's like, you're walking down the hallway by yourself, and all of a sudden you think you're hearing things back in the things like that I just couldn't explain, and as I started going, I started exploring these areas. I found out that I'm very, what is it? I'm energy sensitive, and then I'm also a big empath as well. So I could feel a lot of people's emotions. Like I could read the emotion across the room. Like most people, I can tell if you're having a bad day just based on either something you say to me or just like there's some things I'm just noticing. Like I'm constantly watching to see what people are doing. And I could always read the emotions in the room. If something's bothering somebody, I'll go ask them, listen, hey, are you okay? Or whatever else. And they're like, yeah, they'll always say, yeah. And it's like, no, you're not. You're lying to me. I can sense it. Like a dog, like a drug sniffing dog. You're like, yeah, I don't think so. I think something's up there. We're going to find out from you though. But also I explored the astrological side of things too, because I'm really big in astrology. God, I love it so much. It's so interesting. I did an episode where I had my birth chart read. It turns out that I have the ability, something in my chart says that I have this uncanny thing where people come up to me, Sophia, and they just share the most random facts with me. Like they just start going word vomit. And one guy I'd met, I hadn't seen in a while. He had told me the story about his friend who eventually lost to gun violence. He had told me the story when he came in. He was very upset. I said, "Hey, what's wrong, man? You seem like something's up." He's like, "You really want to know?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. What's up? Talk to me." And he told me, and I was like, "Holy crap!" He saw me again. He goes, "Well, I didn't want to come talk to you because I know I was going to tell you these things." And he was just telling me the situation he was in now. But it's not like it's been unusual to me. Like it's happened several times. Like people just tell me those weird, random facts, and I'm just like, Okay. What? Like, I've had a guy tell me he was dead for 5 minutes, or no, what is it, 15 minutes on the table. Like, they said he was dead and he came back to life. And I was just like, that's interesting. So I'm thinking, why are you telling me this? So, I mean, it's really nothing anything weird to me these days of things like that. So I love what Gary was doing. So I did want to ask you though about reality hacking. I know you mentioned it
Okay.
earlier. So did you want to
So
clarify that for some people what
yes,
that
so
is?
reality hacking, so memories are stored between neurons. So, and if it's a traumatic memory, it's stored in the hippocampus and it usually replays constantly without your awareness. So, a traumatic memory usually replays, which is why we often have phobias, fears, or limiting beliefs, or we wake up exhausted in the morning. Okay, because just like a cell phone, you turn it off overnight and then you open it the next day and the battery is drained to find out you had 10 apps. The body is the same way. So these memories are replaying in the hippocampus. Once you release the emotional charge, they go to the neocortex and they just get categorized, and at least they're not taking up energy. But when you clear that memory or that traumatic memory, you actually, what you're doing is you're moving to a parallel timeline. So, some people are of this belief, and I am of this belief. I have enough evidence from personal experience that we're living in a simulation. So each version of you, there is a version of you that is whole, whatever it is that you believed, because I was very ill on meds. So by clearing these memories, I move to a parallel timeline where I don't take any meds, which I don't. I have not taken a prescription drug, including psychiatric drugs, since 2021 because I was on tons of stuff. So that's what it does. So when you clear the memory, and you rewrite the memory, you actually now re-imprint a new memory. So that's what the hacking reality is. You've cleared the original one, and in place of that one, you create and you wire a new memory, and that makes you move to a parallel timeline.
That's so
And that's
interesting.
pretty much what's happening. And that's why it's called hacking reality, because you're actually changing your original timeline.
So I had a question though. How did you discover the parallel timeline? Is because when you start learning how to hack reality, is that how you kind of discovered that?
Dr. Joe at the time was making small references about it,
Yeah,
and there was something called matrix reimprinting. So I got trained from one of those trainers that created hacking reality, who talks about the morphic fields, and that's basically how I discovered it. And then I've seen it in my experience. There's a certain trajectory and something is cleared, and then the next day is as if it never happened. I've had these weird experiences. I don't know how to explain them. I had some stuff also that couldn't have possibly happened with things in the past. It's as if they got rewritten. So it's only when there's when the memory or the situation and the belief is completely cleared. It does not happen if there's still an emotional charge to it.
yeah, yeah. So I I'm so fascinated. I really am. I'm so fascinated by that. That's so cool though. So let me ask you though this though, for people at home, do you have any advice for them if they're thinking about getting into this kind of thing or stuff like that? What should they anything they should watch out for? Like, because you say there's a lot of videos out there that people can watch, but those are
Yeah, I
just
mean, it's a
videos.
great yeah, they're just videos. It's a great start. If they're having problems, if they're having anxiety and insomnia, if they're always angry, if they're always fearful, that's a sign that something's happening. Or you have a health condition like mine that they told me was incurable. I'm headed to my grave. Well, it didn't happen. So if you have something like that, the best thing you can do is explore if something else works for you. Do it as an experiment. That's how I did it, and see if it works. And you're going to be surprised that if you really commit to it, you're going to get a benefit. There is no downside to EFT, none whatsoever, or hacking reality. You have more to gain than there's nothing to lose.
That's the same thing I was gonna say too. I think you have a really great point there. Would you suggest any Dr. Joe work to them to check out too in case they're interested in learning more? Any
Absolutely.
books you want to reference for them?
Absolutely. First of all, I teach one of his courses.
Awesome.
Yeah, Change Your Mind, Create New Results. This is the course that he used to teach and it's been taught to big corporations, Coca-Cola, Google, Heineken, and now we teach it individually to people. We've taught it to Vietnam vets and prisoners who have had dramatic changes. I happen to have, if anybody's interested, 2 seats for the 26th. It's a 4-day training. So they're welcome to go to my website, tapintoyourbestself.com, to explore that. Offer a free masterclass for 75 minutes to get an introduction, and I teach some of the models, nothing to pay. They have nothing to lose. It's absolutely free. And I also offer a 30-minute complimentary session if they want to explore EFT. And I also do German new medicine, meta consciousness. It's the same thing, where we find the biological program of disease. I'll give an example. So most people think pneumonia or difficulty and the difficulty of breathing is just a bacterial infection. Actually, pneumonia is a biological track, fear of life and feeling powerless. So once you heal that biological trigger, you heal the condition. Digestive issues, depending what it is, it's something you can't digest. So there's something replaying. Urinary tract issues, can't urinate. You can't mark your territory. There's a lot of fear going on. And it's a very, very helpful modality to find, because a lot of people are unconscious, to find what it is that it's causing this. So yes, I have lots of resources, and lots of them are free, and I write a blog, and I'd be happy to help anybody have the opportunity to do that, because it was a second person, because I had discredited all this stuff. And this woman had healed through these modalities, and she says, I did. So why don't you just give it another try and read these books again? And then I ended up with EFT, and that was the turning point for me.
Speaking of meta, how do you incorporate that into your practice now?
So I wake up in the morning and I tap first thing in the morning, because a lot of time, well, actually, before I get out of bed, I set my intention for the day while my brain waves are in alpha brain waves. Then I get up, and of course, the thoughts start creeping in when I'm overwhelmed or what I have to do, whatever. So I clear those out, and then I set my intention, what I want to clear in meditation. And then I go and meditate. And if things creep up during the day, I will tap again, or I will try and lean into the emotion. Eventually, once you become very good at it, you just go into the emotion and you observe it and breathe in it. So a practice that anybody can do now, when they get the tightness in their chest, let's say they're panic driven and they just look around and they're in their room. So nothing physically is causing them panic in this moment. But for whatever reason, they're feeling panic. First thing is they can orient themselves, slow down their breathing. Why? Because when you slow down your breathing, you activate the parasympathetic. But the slow down breathing has to go down to the abdomen, not the chest. So a lot of people omit the abdominal part. And then now you sit with the knot just for 30 seconds or 60 seconds, however long, just to observe it. If you just observe it over a period of time, if you keep on doing that, the energy is going to get released. But the first thing we do is, when we have the panic attack or the fear, we contract. The stories go into the mind, and then we breathe very fast and shallow. That's what puts you now on the hamster wheel trajectory. And most people want to think that anxiety is a specific feeling. Actually, it's a combination of feelings of taking your past and projecting it to the future based on past experiences. So it's an overload in the system of old emotions, and the amygdala has been activated. So all these modalities, you can do it. Or the other thing is just keep on tapping on your chest or some point in the body. Why? Because if there was a tiger here, you wouldn't be tapping. So it's giving the body a signal, okay, I am having this panic attack, or I am having this fear, but there's nothing in this room, if that makes any
Oh yeah, it
sense.
makes perfect sense to me. I'm telling you right now, you're explaining it to people exactly how it feels to me. It's like, a lot of times those anxiety thoughts that come to my head are just something from the past that are coming back. And then now it's mixing with my reality of now, and And I get it. I love the analogy of the tiger being in the room because it's like you get into that when you get into that state of panic, when you start panicking, man, it's like something's there scaring the hell out of you, you know. Or I like to think of it as like the movie Aliens, you know, that alien comes down right next to her head and it's right there kind of thing. Oh yeah, dude. And it's like, you know, however you want to put it, it's the same exact thing. The tiger, the alien, whatever it is, that sense of fear, man, you start getting that like heart starts racing and things like that. Normally, I can tell if it's getting close to that point, and I've learned things to do to kind of just relax. You know, I go and like I know it sounds weird. Where I work, I go into a freezer and I take deep breaths. You know, and the cold air recenters me, so I do a lot of breath work too. So that tends to help a lot of times as well. You know, and I go in there and people are just like, "What are you doing?" Nothing. I don't tell people what I'm doing because if I explain it to most people, they just look at me like I'm nuts. They're like, "Okay, whatever." You know, because I know what works for me. That's what matters. So what matters to me is what works for me. I don't care what people's opinion is. You know, like I share some stuff with people. Other than that, other times I don't. Like if I really go into a panic attack, I've had it happen before. I was at work, and people are like, they're like, "Oh, just calm down, just calm." I just like I hate it when people say that. Oh, just calm down. Yeah, yeah. It's easier said than done. Like you don't understand the state of mind I'm in. You know, my brain's racing, my heart's racing, everything's going at 1,000 miles an hour. The proverbial tiger is in the area with me and I'm freaking the hell out, and you come up and be like, "Oh, well, you just need to calm down." No, it doesn't work like that. Stop telling people that. But I love what you're doing, though. I love it. I really do.
Well, I want to pick on what you said. First of all, breath work is excellent.
Mhm.
And let's put it again contextually. So anxiety is a survival glitch, right? It activates the alarm system in the body as if there's a fire going to happen because you're using your past to project into the future.
Mhm.
So the person comes to you. So when you are in the anxiety state, there's a couple of things that has happened. The sympathetic has been activated, but your brain waves are in high beta. That is very important. It's 3 times normal than the average brain waves. That's first of all. So when the person comes to you and says, just rethink, just calm down, no information can come in through your brain stem that does not equal to your current emotional state. So someone telling you to be calm when you're having anxiety is not going to work. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter. They can turn blue in the face telling you that. It's not going to happen because it can't pass the brain stuff. Neurologically, we know that, which is why affirmations don't work. You know, you say, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy. And the brain thinks, well, no, you're not. Your bank account is empty. You're broke, you're broke, you're broke. And then what happens is you get more discouraged. So that's first step number 2. But when you start changing your breathing, and especially in the abdomen, then the brain waves slowly start dropping. It's the brain waves that start dropping that are going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So all these modalities that we have, whether it's breath work, tapping, or somatic observation, is because their goal is to go back inside of the body or change the brain waves. So now we're not in the alarm system. The alarm system is turned off, and now you can address the emotion. So no one says to you, oh, well, you're having a panic attack. Just observe. I told you first, start breathing, slow down your brain waves so we can stop the overthinking brain. Or the other thing you can do is go to your heart and create what they teach, brain and heart coherence. That again slows down your brain waves. So all of these modalities, even the act of tapping like this, eventually slows down your brain waves. So the key here is to change our brain waves, come into a little bit more relaxed state to observe it. That's basically what we're doing. And when you're in survival, there is no room for possibility. Let's address, though, what's happening, unfortunately, to people. So right now, social media has gotten out of control. The
Mhm.
news has gotten out of control. So someone consuming every day and scrolling, and especially first thing in the morning and at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're programming yourself for more fear, more anger, more resentment, and more judgment. Because in the evening and in the morning, your brain waves are alpha, and eventually they're going to go to theta. And then if it's in the evening, delta, you're going to go to sleep. In the morning, it's the reverse order. You got from delta to theta to alpha. And alpha and theta brainwaves is what hypnotists use for hypnosis. So you're automatically getting hypnotized by just watching the news and scrolling on social media. Now, when you use confusion because you can't use your analytical mind, now you're getting programmed again. It's a great technique for pharmaceutical ads. They're very clear at creating a confusion. Oh, this is going to work for you. It's the best thing you can take. It's going to give you this wonderful life. But if you're X, Y, and Z, it's going to create, and then you're thinking, okay, I thought this is going to do me well, but now I'm going to get the risk of suicide. Now you're
Yeah, you know,
confused.
the little ear that gets real low, they starts to have some side effects included, and just start going off the side effects, and you're like, "What the hell? Wait a minute, this is supposed to fix my problem." Oh, to hear voices that aren't supposed to be there. I'm like, "Wait, is this an antipsychotic? Am I not supposed?" Like, wait a minute, I'm a little confused here for a minute now. You just told me you're gonna fix my problem, and then add more problems. What the hell is going on here? This is so weird.
Yeah, it's a perfect tactic. When you enter confusion, the analytical mind loses its capacity momentarily, and now that thing gets programmed. And so, if they have contrasting good images or good emotions with negative, a lot of times they do it colorful and then black and white. Now you're just getting programmed. And then,
Yeah, a
of
lot, a
course,
lot of hidden messages too in there. A lot of times too, you know. I remember that. I did look into that for a while too, where they were talking about, you know, the hidden messages behind a lot of things. They had that like subconscious thing they trigger you with, but all the flashing colors to keep you distracted so you don't realize what's going on. So
yep. And we have movies for predictive programming, the conditions. They make the name so complicated. They never give you a clear answer how the condition happened. It starts with this, then it turns to this, but then it's back to this, and then it's something else. So it's sad, but this is what our reality is. The key is once you know that, you can protect yourself. Because 30 or 60 years ago, I'm not saying anxiety did not exist, but not to this extreme. All these other conditions, attention deficit disorder, PTSD, it's like over the roof. Dementia is over the roof.
remember PTSD used to be called shell shock for the longest time. Then they said it was only the military that could get it. It wasn't a condition for anybody else. And then eventually it changed. The narrative changed a little bit there too. To oh now other people can get it all of a sudden. It's not just soldiers that would get it, you know, and things like that too. And it's just oh god. And I love that you mentioned social media because social media I have a love hate relationship with. I feel like sometimes some people just need to stop talking. Like you know these people get on here and start telling people things, and of course people start believing them instead of asking the important question of like, what is your background in this area? Do you have any idea what you're talking about? Oh no. We're just gonna start talking, and people are gonna start listening, and it's like, come on now, like have we gotten so lazy as society that we just can't do a little research into like, okay, this person's telling me something, but what are their credentials that they're telling me? Are these an actual doctor? Have they done any studies in these things? Or are they just somebody mindlessly rambling that's catching my attention with all these loud, big words? Because, you know, it's a lot of times you see them, it's always the hot topic issue of the day. Oh, we're going to go for this one and then just get them all like riled up about it, you know, and things like that too that happen. And it just, oh God, it just aggravates me. It really does. I can't stand it because you like watch them and you're just like, okay, yeah. Like I know to look at it differently, but other people are just like feeding into this crap. And then you read the comments and you're just like, oh God, help us all. Here we go. You know, it's just like the things these people are saying, you're just like, oh, can y'all stop, please? Stop feeding this person more. Stop hyping this person up and telling them they're doing great when they have no idea what they're talking about. Like they're like the snake oil salesman, like they're selling you this crap, and then you're like, oh, it's real. And you're like, I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Stop. Please stop doing that.
It's where we live. So people can check, are they feeling better? So there's a lot of podcasts that give wonderful information. I mean, that's how I started,
Yeah.
right? Whether it was a video or a podcast. Is it empowering or is it not? If it's making you feel worse, especially if you're having challenges in your life, that's the worst thing you can do. So we were not created to come to a miserable life. And unfortunately, including myself, we've ended up on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. I love how you
It,
keep saying the hamster wheel. That makes me
it,
laugh
it
every
is.
time.
And it's interesting. Imagine you're a hamster. You can't jump off the wheel when it's spinning very fast. Or like let's say you want to get out of a car and it's speeding so fast,
Mhm.
you want to get out, you're going to get injured. So you yourself, the hamster, which is me now, I can't get out when my thoughts are racing, 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 going circle, looping, 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 like the windmills of your mind. There's an old song, right?
Mhm.
So you want to slow down your brain waves, and now you jump off the hamster wheel. Now there's no injury on my body because I made a conscious effort. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I may get a little scratches, but or bruised because people are not going to like what I'm doing or
Yeah.
saying or believing, and I'm jumping off the hamster
Right. Right.
wheel.
I agree. I love that analogy. It made me laugh every time. I'm already trying to hold a straight face with that. That's funny. Every time you say it, because it's so true though, because it gets you so ramped up as you're scrolling through and you're just endlessly doom scrolling. And that's what's happening. The wheel's going, man. And it's like you want to get off, but you can't because you're going too fast and people are scared to just unplug from it, which they'll feel amazing. I guarantee it. Well, just try it once in a while. Just unplug for like a day and see how great that fear of missing out isn't there anymore, you know? And TikTok's really good at that too, because they'll start sending those 50,000 invites. Oh, I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. I'd stop responding to half of them. People are like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. I know. I chose to not be seen for a while because like, you know where to find me. It's not like you don't know what I'm doing, you know? And I just couldn't give into the phone anymore. I got caught in that for a little bit and I was like, no, no. I just eventually decided to start unplugging and I'll just stop responding. And then like after 5 o'clock, I'll just stop answering most messages unless it's something important. I just cut it off because it's just when my wife gets home usually. So I work third shift. So I work overnight. I record during the day most days, you know, changing my schedule up a little more on that too. But now I'll record in the day. When she comes in at 5 o'clock, that's it, done. It's all about me and her. That's it. You know, I might go on my phone if I have to show her something, but other than that, whenever she's talking to me, try a new thing, guys. Let me tell you, put your phone straight down when someone's talking to you. It works wonders. You know, conversations go better that way. By the way, you know, just life hack there for you. You know, you actually pay attention to what somebody's saying for once. It's nice. You know, none of this, you know, sitting here like this in front of the screen. It's not. No, stop. Okay, stop. Like if you go to a restaurant, you sit there, look around the room, and watch how many people actually are sitting on their phones. It's crazy. Like put your phone down for 2 minutes. The person in front of you is there. And then they wonder why people get so mad. It's like, this is not real. It's not a master class needed, guys. How about use common sense? Like put your phone down for 5 minutes and actually interact with the person in front of you for two, you know, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't, you know, and it's funny to watch too. So I'm getting better at it. That's what I do with my wife now. Like I'll start looking at something. She'll start talking to me instantly. Phone goes straight down. I'll put it right down and away from me because I have that problem where I get so sucked into what I'm doing. I'm not paying attention to what she's saying and it's causing her to get upset with me. And then I'm like, well, what are you upset about? Now it's okay. I'm focused on what she's saying. I can see that, you know, I'm listening to her, you know, and she appreciates it too. And she doesn't get so mad at me about like I'm not paying attention. Sometimes I'll miss details, you know, it happens, you know, but the effort is there and she sees it. She said it was weird at first how I'm not like glued to my phone like I was in the beginning with this podcast. I was constantly on my phone doing something, but now I found these little things that do everything for me now. So now it's so much easier for me to do. So anybody new that gets into podcasting, I tell them all the things. I'm like, listen, let me save you a headache and trouble that I've gone through. I've done the trial process for you guys. These are the things you should set up and just let it do its own thing. And you know, and it's great and everything like that too, because it's so hard sometimes to unplug. I know social media is addictive like that, and you know it's an addiction. If you want to think about it either way, it's still an addiction either way you think about it, because you're stuck looking at the phone like this. Even walking down the street, people do that too. They're stuck, you know, sitting there staring at their phones instead of like enjoying the reality of life that it is. You know, like to go outside, touch grass, as a lot of people like to say, and all that other fun stuff. But Sophia, we're at the part of the interview where I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I've asked all my guests the same questions. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these episodes. Um, so the first one is actually credit to a good friend of mine. She asked me a question during our interview, so I'm going to ask you the same thing. Sophia, if your mental health had a song, what would that song be?
If I didn't hear
If
the
your
word.
mental health had a song, what would that song be?
Stairway to Heaven.
Love it. Love it. There you go. And then my next question, and the reason this whole podcast exists is if you could break the stigma about anything about mental health you hear, what would it be?
There is no stigma because you can change your reality and you can heal to go to a parallel alternate version of yourself where it's whole. And how do we know that? Was it Sybil, the movie with the multiple personalities?
Hmm.
Can't remember the movie, right? So each version of herself that had the condition was a a reality. So you can enter a new reality that there is no mental stigma. It's just your body telling you you're out of alignment. That's how I see it.
Love it. I love it. Well, Sophia, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you coming to talk to me. I enjoyed this conversation a lot. Guys, I'm going to have her information down in the link to this video, the recording, wherever you're listening to this right now. And Sophia, thank you so much for coming again. Appreciate it. Did you want to let anybody else know where else they can find you besides your website, or do you
Yeah.
prefer to drive them right to the website?
No, I'm happy. First of all, I want to give a message because, as I
Definitely
said,
go
I
right ahead.
was expected to not live twice. So, wherever you are, wherever that situation is, you can turn it around. I'm not saying it's easy, but you can turn it around. And you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn, all with the handle of Tap Into Your Best Self. With an exception of Facebook, it's tapintoyourbestself.org versus .com. And I have a lot of free information, including quizzes to see if you're having anxiety or something, and a lot of free PDFs. So you can start with some tapping scripts. So you can start for free.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much again, guys. And I'm Pete for Exciting. You can find me on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio. And as I always say, it costs absolutely nothing. Be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do to save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety saying, I'm saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?
So bad, before you're breaking my neck.